Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom, and I'm the creator of rulingplanets.com and Christopher Renstrom Astrology. And I want to welcome you to my August horoscope forecast for 2024. August gets off to quite a start with the Venus-Uranus square that will be taking place on August 2nd. This is bound to upset all kinds of relationships, friendships, and associations. Maybe this shakeup in your relationship or in an association or friendship is long overdue. Maybe you've gotten to a place where you just can't keep accommodating this person anymore, and it's time to speak up or break out. Or maybe you've decided that you've taken all that you can take. In any case, you're going to be deciding for yourself who you want to socialize with. And with Uranus strong, there's a good chance that it will be someone from the wrong side of the tracks, or someone whose culture or beliefs clash with yours. Loved ones and friends will say that you're just doing this for the attention, but they couldn't be more wrong. Signs most affected are Taurus, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, and Aquarius. On August 4th, we'll be having a new moon in the zodiac sign of Leo. New moons are dark moons, and that's because the moon basically occupies the same place in the sky that the sun does. So there's no distance between them, no light for the moon to reflect. New moons are often associated with beginnings, with the start of something, and people like to plant intentions during a time of the new moon. But new moons can also represent blind spots in an astrological chart. With the new moon in Leo, Leo is all about the heart. One says that one is lion-hearted, meaning courageous and brave. And so you are going to trust your heart about a certain matter, which is great. But then, because of the Leo moon energy, you're going to expect other people to feel the same way that you do. And with this new moon in Leo, you're going to find out for yourself that other people have hearts of their own. In other words, that other people don't necessarily feel the same way that you do. Now, this might seem like the most obvious of truths, but it's going to catch you off guard during this period of time. You're going to be legitimately surprised that someone's feelings are different, or that someone's feelings are stronger than yours were on the subject, or perhaps more mild-mannered than yours. Now, the challenge during a new moon like this is to keep your heart and your mind open, to respect a point of view or an opinion that doesn't agree with yours, to be less, shall we say, imperious about what you feel. Leo moons have a tendency to stamp on things. This is what I feel. This is what I think, and it is right, and everyone should feel the same way. Well, if you go ahead and extend that respect to other people who may be feeling just as furious as you during this period of time, you'll find that you'll be able to exchange differences of opinion without a lot of emotional upset and distress. Introduce a little humor, and you may find yourself finding common ground in your differences. Signs most affected will be Cancer and Leo. Another astrological event that will be happening on August 4th is Venus will be entering the zodiac sign of Virgo. Now, Venus is said to be in her fall when she is traveling through the zodiac sign of Virgo. That's because Virgo was associated with the Virgin, and Venus being named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty, well, let's just say that Venus in the sign of the Virgin heavily cramped her style, or so that was the joke. The real reason that Venus is in her fall in the zodiac sign of Virgo is because Venus is all about pairing. It's all about bringing two people together into some sort of, romantic relationship. And if it's not a romantic relationship, perhaps a very successful business relationship or a very creative collaboration. This idea of two people being together is very Venusian. Now, Virgo has issues. when it comes to a relationship. And that's because Virgo is the only zodiac sign that really depicts a woman. The other zodiac signs usually depict men, whether it's the mane on a lion, the horns on a bull, or the upper chest exposure of the centaur as he is taking aim with his bow and arrow and shooting at a far-off target. Indeed, the other zodiac signs don't really represent women at all. The only zodiac sign that showed a woman with her long flowing tresses was the zodiac sign of Virgo. And so the entire history of women is bound up in this one zodiac sign. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire 2,500 years of the history of women, but I will say this. For the most part of this 2,500 years of the history of women, women have had to be subservient to men. Women have had to do what men tell them to do, or if women were married, they were regarded as men's property. So what this has stored up with people who are born under the zodiac sign of Virgo is this idea of you don't own me, which is why when it comes to relationships, people born under Virgo, particularly women born under Virgo, can have issues about feeling subservient to a man. They don't want to feel used, they don't want to feel abused, and they don't want to feel servile to any sort of man. And so this idea of you don't own me is very, very strong when Venus is in Virgo. And as you can imagine, this sort of flies in the face of Venus's mission statement, which is to bring people together in a loving, sexual, romantic union. Now, this doesn't mean that all people born under Virgo will be single. What it means is that they're very sensitive to how a relationship is set up. During this time that Venus is traveling through Virgo, which is going to be roughly about 3-ish weeks, you may find yourself wanting to take a break from relationships in general. If you're in a relationship, you might want time by yourself. If you're out there dating, you might want to take some time off from that. And during this period of time, you may be reflecting quite specifically on what you want in a relationship. Now, this isn't what I want in terms of like a type, like this is the type of person that I would love to be with. No, it's more kind of like, what's a relationship supposed to really do in my life? And when you're thinking these thoughts, I want you to think about self-sufficiency. I want you to think about the things that you can do on your own without the fear that this is going to make you eternally single or make you someone that people aren't going to be with. During this period of time when Venus is in Virgo, you really want to think about what you want in a relationship, because this is going to help you to articulate what it is like for you to be in a relationship. So this isn't the things that I need, the things that I want, the do's and the don'ts. It's really more of a holistic reflection on what you want. The more that you do this, the more you'll find that people who are responding to you in a relationship are responding in a way where they recognize who you really are as a person. This idea of women choosing their own relationships and how this relationship is going to be a theme that runs all through the month of August. So Venus in Virgo will give you the first feeling of what that is going to be. Signs most affected are going to be Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, Libra, and Capricorn. On August 5th, Mercury will be turning retrograde in the zodiac sign of Virgo. Mercury retrogrades are pretty well known. That's because they take place about 3 times a year, and they're famous for all kinds of snafus that take place when it comes to buying and selling, or to product placement, or the way that things go in your day-to-day life. Now, because Mercury is associated with communication and with thought, during this period of time that Mercury is backwards in the sky, it signals a time when you will be plagued by misunderstandings, malfunctions, and faulty merchandise. This is why you always want to check under the hood, both literally and metaphorically, when this planet is traveling backwards. This allows you to identify any potential snafus or fiascos ahead of time. The other thing that you'll want to be careful about during this period of time that Mercury is retrograde in Virgo is the way that you backpedal out of situations where you find yourself in over your head. Panic in situations like these, and you will sink like a stone. But act as if you know what you're talking about in a confident but non-committal way, that is, until you can figure out a solution to what the problem is, and you will successfully negotiate your release from any dire predicament. Signs most affected will be Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, and Capricorn. On August 7th, the Sun will form a sextile to Jupiter. This is perfect for a change of scene, because you've been pressing your nose to the grindstone for more days than you could possibly count, and you could really use a break. Time away, even if it's just a day trip, will do a lot to recharge your psychic batteries and put problems in perspective. These two planets, the Sun and Jupiter, are also good for broadening your horizons. So it's a good idea to accept any invitation to attend a workshop, a retreat, or a lecture. Finally, there's good fortune to be found by following any sort of tips or leads that you receive right now. The further off the beaten path you row, the greater your likelihood will be in discovering it. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On August 12th, there will be a first quarter moon in the zodiac sign of Scorpio. It looks like things are finally up and going. This comes as a relief, because it's been a long time since you've had to jump through the circus hoops you've been jumping through lately. There were so many loose ends that needed tying up. There was so much coaxing and cajoling and hand-holding and details to put in order. Nevertheless, the first moon in Scorpio shows that a creative project, a heartfelt endeavor, or a romantic desire is increasing in light and energy. It's not a pipe dream that you pinned your hopes on. It's actually happening. So, get ready to go to places you've never been before, either physically or emotionally, and to deal with a whole new, fresh set of circumstances that you've never, ever faced before. Signs most affected are Aries, Cancer, Leo, and Scorpio. On August 14th, Mars forms a conjunction to Jupiter. A conjunction is when two planets are at the exact same point at the exact same time in the sky. What this does is that it amplifies both planetary energies, and as a result, you will find it impossible to sit still. A million things are going on at once. Not only will your mind be racing ahead, interrupting itself, switching topics, and then doubling back again, but you'll have your fingers in so many pies that it will be hard to remember which pies were yours to begin with. You'll be becoming best friends with someone you just met, breaking up with somebody else you just barely got to know, and picking fights with people who are on your side. This is what happens when Jupiter increases the energy of Mars. You'll be sparring and feuding like a boxing kangaroo. You'll also grow bored easily, so acting up and acting out can't be helped. But as far as you're concerned, you're doing it with a jovial spirit. Besides, your rib poking and your chain yanking and leg pulling is all done in fun. Nobody's really getting hurt, right? Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On August 16th, Mars forms a square to Saturn. Unfortunately, others are not amused with your Mars-Jupiter hijinks, especially authority figures who have been the butt of your jokes. You may succeed at getting a boss or a supervisor to laugh along with everyone else in the moment, but there's something about your Mars energy that will leave them feeling burned. Like there's a part of you that really enjoys besting them and even taking them down a peg or two. For all of that Gemini tomfoolery, Saturn in Pisces can tell that you really mean it underneath. And so resentment can build during this time, which is why you'll want to check in with those people that you're making fun of to make sure that you haven't gone too far. Because if you're not sensitive to their feelings and where they are, you may find yourself being brought down to earth very quickly and with a very dramatic thud. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On August 18th, Mercury forms a square to revolutionary Uranus. Now, your first reaction might be, again? Didn't they just square a few weeks ago? And the answer would be yes. Yes, they did square just a few weeks ago. But remember that Mercury just recently turned retrograde, which means it's moving backwards in the sky. And on August 14th, Mercury moved backwards from Virgo into the zodiac sign of Leo. So that means it's revisiting its square to Uranus. That means that whatever occurred with the first Mercury-Uranus square a few weeks ago is now being revisited now that retrograde Mercury is forming a square to Uranus in the sky. Now, it's easy to question conventional wisdom when convention isn't wise anymore. And this is the message of retrograde Mercury forming a square with Uranus in the zodiac sign of Taurus. The things that used to work no longer do, and the time for waiting to see how developments will play out is over. Now, nobody's saying that you have to grab a pitchfork and storm the Bastille, or do anything else radical or revolutionary. But nothing's saying that you have to uphold certain structures that have outlived their purpose either. We all want to try to make unworkable situations work. It's human nature. But there comes a time when you have to walk away from something that's no longer tenable. And that time is now. Signs most affected are Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Aquarius. August 19th is a big day. August 19th is an enormous day, astrologically speaking. And that's because there are 5 planetary aspects all taking place on August 19th. Now, let me go ahead and break it down for you in succession. The first aspect is a Venus-Jupiter square. A square describes a conflict, and here we have a conflict taking place between the two benefics, Venus and Jupiter. Venus and Jupiter both have to do with pledges and promises. Venus rules over relationships, one-on-one relationships, and Jupiter rules over relationships in a community or a group. And so the idea of making a pledge or making a promise is being questioned when these two planets square one another in the sky. And so there may be a feeling of, well, you promised, or you said that you were going to, or this is what you led me to believe. This is the first idea that will be coming out with this square. This square is followed almost immediately by a Venus-Saturn opposition. We have Venus, again, describing one-on-one relationships. Venus is a natural bridge builder. She wants everyone to get along. And when she is opposite Saturn, Saturn is not amused. Saturn is not playing. Saturn is not open to Venus's overtures and invitations. Saturn might even be picking up its toys and leaving the sandbox because it's decided that it doesn't want to play with its playmates anymore. Or maybe Saturn, like Achilles, has exiled himself to the tent and is sulking and being in a bad mood. And so Venus is trying to reach out to Saturn to see if she can get Saturn to come out of his corner. So Venus, as you could imagine just from this description, is doing a lot of work here. Venus is the planet of women. She is in the zodiac sign of Virgo, which is the zodiac sign of women. And so you can expect a lot of women issues, female issues, to be very strong during this period of time. Also remember that Venus is in Virgo, so things dealing with health and body and work are also going to be themes that are going to be very powerful and strong today. We have had a lot of Uranian energy fueling up or pumping up the planets Venus and Mercury. And so, as you recall, August began with an upset or change in relationships. And Mercury, which the day before squared Uranus, is carrying that energy into these conversations. So there may be a lot of revolutionary things that are said, or there may be a lot of revelatory things that are being said, and they're going to be quite charged. What makes this even more so, and why communication is even more pronounced during this period of time, is that Venus and Jupiter are both in Mercury-ruled signs. Jupiter is in Gemini, and Venus is in Virgo. On this day, around this time, a lot of debating, a lot of arguing, a lot of squabbling, a lot of squawking, and people feeling like they are breaking troth, that they are breaking pledges, that they are being two-faced about things. This planetary combination that I just described to you is followed by a Sun-Uranus square, which is also taking place. The Sun-Uranus square means that the Sun is in Leo, it is squaring Uranus, which is in Taurus. So there is an upset of what was supposed to be stable. There is a sudden upset in what had been agreed upon. No sooner does the Sun square Uranus than there is a full moon in Aquarius, which is also squaring Uranus. And this becomes even more amplified because Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So I would imagine that there's going to be two camps, and you may find yourself in either the solar camp or the Uranian camp. The solar camp is, this is the way that everything is supposed to be done. This is what we agreed with. We have to all stand together. And the Uranian camp, and that is referring to Uranus as the ruler of Aquarius, is, why do we have to agree to this? Maybe we were herded into this. Maybe we were forced into these agreements. There is diversity. We need to be eclectic. We need to hear all the different voices that are going on right now. So all of this is getting whipped up into a real frenzy, astrologically speaking. But we're not done with August 19th yet, because August 19th, we will also see a Jupiter-Saturn square taking place between Jupiter in the zodiac sign of Gemini and Saturn in the zodiac sign of Pisces. Basically, this square, in a nutshell, is about it's time to try something different, all right? Jupiter's relationship to Saturn in mythology is that Jupiter overthrew Saturn. Saturn was the reigning god of heaven until Jupiter came and overthrew his father and set up a new regime. He set up a new pantheon, and that was done under Jupiter's auspices. So what you have with a Jupiter-Saturn square is an overthrow of anything that is old and that is rigid, and setting up a new pantheon, setting up a new group of gods. Now, obviously, we're not going to have a new pantheon of gods descend from heaven on the 19th. But what you may experience is that there is a new cast of characters, a fresh crop of different voices. This might occur at work. This might occur with your neighborhood watch committee. This might occur with your bowling team. There's been a change of the old guard and impulse to move in a fresh, new, and different direction. Obviously, this is going to bring up a lot of fear and anxiety. That's the Saturn part of the square to Jupiter. But Jupiter at the same time, particularly in Gemini, can be very committed to a purpose, to setting up something fresh, new, and different. And that may be very well what's going on this day. Signs most affected are Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On August 22nd, the Sun enters the zodiac sign of Virgo. Virgo is often portrayed as a know-it-all sign. and that people born under this constellation are seen as cool, removed, perfectionists, cerebral, and maybe even a little bit bitchy. Well, nothing could really be further from the truth. That idea of being cool and removed, austere and even celibate, is connected to the idea of Virgo as the virgin. It was a medieval thing. But in reality, Virgo is very hot. And the reason that Virgo is hot rather than cool is because the sun burns hot in the zodiac sign of Virgo. Indeed, Virgo's famous work ethic comes from having to gather all the harvest before it rots under the unforgiving rays of the sun in August. So you can expect the next 4 weeks to be hugely demanding, as you must move at a hectic pace to meet deadlines, to score deals, and make sure that every I is dotted and that every T is crossed. All of this is being done in anticipation of taking in the big haul. So when we're talking about taking in the big haul, showing off what you've done, we're really talking about assessing the fruits of your labors. So, are you celebrating a bumper crop, or are you looking at slim picking? In any case, you're going to find out which is which over the next 4 weeks that the sun is traveling through the zodiac sign of Virgo. Signs most affected are Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Capricorn. On August 24th, Mercury will be forming a sextile to Mars. This is an excellent time for revisiting a negotiation. Remember that Mercury is currently retrograde in the sky, which means that this is a good time for retracing one's steps. And you may find yourself revisiting a negotiation that you had given up for lost, or which suddenly is showing signs of life. During this period of time that Mercury is forming a sextile to Mars, you will be able to organize your facts in an exquisite way. You'll be able to prioritize them so as to make the most compelling case that you can make. Whatever mistakes that you made before, you've learned from them, and now you know just what to say to re-engage the person on the opposite side of the table. You have a very strong sense of what this person wants, which means that you can anticipate their every question, their every request, and their every reservation. Usually, the Mars energy would just push for what it wants outright. But when it forms a sextile to the much more, shall we say, playful Mercury, you'll be able to enter into a sort of back and forth volley of sorts. You throw out an idea, the other party throws out an idea, you throw out an idea, they sort of bat that idea back. There's a volley, like in tennis, where you bat ideas and figures back and forth until you come up with something that will make both sides happy. And that makes for the best negotiation of all. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Libra. On August 26th, there is a last quarter moon in the zodiac sign of Gemini. You're under pressure to act, and to act decisively. So you won't have any patience for someone yammering on about technicalities and contingency plans and disclaimers. This will all strike you as dithering. Nevertheless, there's still something valuable about the information that an expert is trying to impart to you today. And even if you can't make sense of it in the moment, it would be wise to take notes. Why? Because Mercury, the planet of communication, is also the ruler of the Gemini moon. That means that Mercury is playing a pivotal role and promises to translate those hieroglyphs into easy-to-follow action steps, something that the sun in Virgo knows exactly how to deliver on. Signs most affected are Gemini, Cancer, Virgo, Libra, and Aquarius. On August 27th, Venus forms a trine to Uranus. Your romantic status switches from ineligible to eligible when Venus forms a trine to Uranus. Venus, the planet of love and beauty, loves to upset our set expectations when she's forming a harmonious aspect to the planet of revolution and change. Suddenly, all those circumstances that worked against you, those problems that separated you from each other, or those obligations that oppressed you are swept away, and you are free to go running into one another's arms. Now, this would be seen as a very good thing. Finally, we're free to be with one another. But chances are you may feel like doing the exact opposite. Why? Because all of those obstacles, no matter how insurmountable, served as the glue to your relationship. This is going to correspond with Venus's opposition to Neptune on the following day. So there's a realization that comes with the Venus-Uranus trine, followed by a disillusionment, which is pretty much characteristic of Venus-Neptune oppositions in the sky. Moments of truth, whether it's a realization or a disillusionment, tend to be more revealing than we want them to be. And how you work with yours will determine if the two of you are truly meant to be together or not. Signs most affected are Taurus, Virgo, Libra, and Aquarius. On August 28th, Mercury comes out of retrograde in the zodiac sign of Leo. Mercury comes out of retrograde, and so do you. For 2.5 weeks, the planet of spinning plates has put you through your paces as you have fielded crises and negotiated backslides, surprise upsets, and unanticipated delays. Your life has been a 3-ring circus. One wonderful thing that will emerge from all this craziness will be a new friend. Maybe you met this person sitting next to each other on the airplane, at the gym, or some neighborhood hotspot. In any case, there's a very real and a very long-lasting connection that has been formed between the two of you, and you will see this person become a very important person in your life in the weeks ahead. Signs most affected are Gemini, Leo, and Virgo. On August 29th, Venus enters the zodiac sign of Libra, the zodiac sign of the peacemaker. You will be chosen to play the role of a mediator in a dispute. The best way to do this is to practice the gospel of compromise and cooperation. Begin by insisting that the victor concede something of their spoils so that the losing side can save face. Then turn to the one who has lost and tell them that it's in their best interests to make some kind of conciliatory gesture to show that there are no hard feelings. Do this, and you will win both sides over to your side, and with neither of them being the wiser. Prevail upon them to adopt your compromise, and you will save the day. Signs most affected are Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Libra, and Aquarius. August 29th brings a remarkable Venus-Pluto trine. This builds on the energy that I just described, the energy of Venus, the peacemaker. Compromises are fashioned. Truces are made. Ceasefires are called for. People are going to be much more in the mood to lay down their arms. Now, that's not necessarily because everyone's gotten kumbaya. We have Pluto active here, and Pluto is not very strong on the kumbaya, not by any stretch of the imagination. But Pluto is a planet of force. Pluto is a planet of power. Pluto is a planet of enforcement. What happens to Venus when she is trining Pluto is Venus all of a sudden has a lot of strength and power behind her. So the idea of forming this truce, of agreeing to a ceasefire, is going to be seen as more attractive than the alternative. Pluto, as I said, is a planet of force and power and conviction. Pluto is also a planet that can show you how truly bad things can get. There's a little bit of a scared straight energy to Pluto. So with this trine, Pluto will make quite a compelling case. You can either continue with your dispute and feud to one another's mutual destruction, or you could join Venus at the table, where there was food and wine and pleasant company. This is the way that covenants used to be formed back in the day. They provided a more appealing outcome to what would otherwise be a grim and unsupportable alternative. Signs most affected: Taurus, Gemini, Libra, Scorpio, and Aquarius. If you enjoyed what you saw, please press the like button. It helps more than you know. If you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. I've had such a wonderful time visiting with you this week, and I can't wait to get together next time on Christopher Renstrom Astrology.